A couple of months ago, I uploaded a video to talk about Chapter 1. Back then, I pointed out a lot of the flaws in the chapter, and while today I still think that it has many issues, I have significantly changed my mind about one thing in particular, the big choice between Roche or Iorveth. I thought it was pretty simplistic overall, and I was left a bit disappointed by how such an important and meaningful decision felt so easy to choose, and I just thought it was straightforward, at least it was for me. Mostly because back then, based on the things that I had seen, I thought that there would be no way that Geralt would ever pick Iorveth. It's like, if I wanted to pick Iorveth, I'd have to go against logic and do it for fun or curiosity pretty much. So welcome to Paradoxia Gaming, and let's talk about just how wrong I was. So, we fast forward to today, and I'm slowly getting ready to make my Witcher 2 review video, and I decided to buy the game again as a result, this time on my Xbox to do a new playthrough and this time side with Iorveth, so that my review would at least include an opinion of my thoughts on both paths. Everything was going fine and as expected until it wasn't anymore. There's one specific small moment, or so I thought, that actually changes everything. It's when we get to choose if we want to give Iorveth his sword or not.
Give me my sword.
I don't know why, I always thought that it was a minor choice and that it didn't have any significant consequences on the rest of the story. So basically the first time around, I didn't give Iorveth his sword and the Scoia'taels were beaten, Iorveth was captured, and yeah, it ended badly for the Scoia'tael. I thought that's how it would always happen, regardless of my choice here. Call me stupid if you want, maybe I deserve it. But yeah, it turns out that if Geralt gives him his sword, the Scoia'taels actually win the skirmish, thus killing a few of Flotsam's guards, and Iorveth gets to remain a free man. But now I really want to explore what happens afterwards because it's far from over. Once everything settles, it's time to head back to Flotsam. In my first playthrough, Loredo and the town were celebrating our great victory and the drinks were flowing and everything was going well. This time though, the streets are filled with blood and Flotsam has erupted in violence and hatred. The humans started murdering every non-humans on sight. They even attempt to kill Geralt when he enters the town. How foolish. But yeah, the town is on fire. There are also a couple of situations where we can try to defend dwarves or elves. It's actually a pretty big deal. And all of that is a result of elves/Scoia'taels killing some people from Flotsam. Quick reminder that the humans were the ones who attacked first. Anyways, when the situation has finally been calmed a bit, we can finally start looking for Triss, because of course she went missing, and while investigating, where in my first playthrough I talked with Derai in the brothel to hear about what she saw when Triss was taken, in this playthrough, Derai's actually dead, cause she's an elf.
Come back later, we're closed. They've killed one of my girls.
It's Derai, Geralt. That was her room.
Therefore, we talk with Margot instead. Now, if Geralt talks with Derai, she saw Triss talking to Detmold. If it's Margot, she instead saw Triss talking to Philippa. I didn't even know it was possible. So with Philippa, the dialogue already sets up the Iorveth path a bit more by mentioning Saskia and establishing her as a person worthy of a crown.
The rebels are led by a girl, both beautiful and smart. She's achieved the impossible. Humans and non-humans, nobles, burghers and peasants, marching side by side towards a new beginning.
If it's Detmold, it's quite the contrary. He basically insults Saskia.
Who's the girl?
She commands a rabble of peasants, poor noblemen and non-humans. Henselt will trample those vermin and chase them off with whips.
The discussion is very different, and it's certainly not setting up Iorveth's story arc. If anything, it's just going against it. So that's about it for the Triss situation, but let's jump right away to another interesting event that happens, and it's when we get to learn about Loredo's reaction to the violence in his town, and how he's not doing anything about it, other than maybe inciting even more of it.
Who opened the gates of hell?
I don't have any proof, but my coin's on Loredo. Rulers are always looking for a way to cover their mistakes and failures, and the mob always loves a circus.
Once again, it's a situation that I didn't even know could happen in the game, and it's definitely interesting to see Loredo's reaction to the events in his town. So it's clear that I was wrong about the impact of the choice and the depth of the chapter, but that's not all yet, because after that we go on a search for Cedric, and if Iorveth got his sword, the way to Cedric is empty and peaceful. But if Iorveth is imprisoned, Scoia'taels are everywhere, attacking Geralt and showing that the relationship with Geralt is, let's say, difficult. Alright, we finally made it to the big choice of actually picking between Roche and Iorveth, and of course the setup we get for Iorveth changes drastically. If he didn't get his sword, of course he's imprisoned after the skirmish, and we talk with Zoltan instead, who gives a very simplistic and shallow overview of the Scoia'tael's plans.
The Scoia'tael will be heading for Upper Edirn. Our contacts there could help you find the Kingslayer. They're waiting for my signal. Once I call them, there is no turning back. If you want to help free Iorveth, decide now.
On the other hand, if the relationship is good and Iorveth is still a free man, we meet with Iorveth himself, even passing by Scoia'taels that are actually friendly to us, and then there's a great talk to fully set up Iorveth's path and finally give me this complexity that I was looking for in the choice. He talks about wanting a true free state, one in which an elf could visit a human inn, but also one where the humans could enter the forests without fear. It's a bit surprising based on his fairly regular insults directed at pretty much any Duan he interacts with, but hey, maybe if there's actual mutual respect, maybe he could change his mind, right? He then keeps talking, and it's obvious that he thinks that Saskia could be the key to realizing his vision. He also asks Geralt to follow him to Upper Edirn, which would make sense for Geralt because we know that Leto is in Edirn as well, so Geralt would get closer to both his target and Triss. Overall, it's honestly just a great discussion that sets up Iorveth's path as a reliable alternative for Geralt to reach his goal, something that I did not feel based on the more limited talk with Zoltan that I had in my first playthrough. Actually, I find Iorveth to be a way more entertaining character than Roche personally, so if I think that his path has any degree of viability, or that it could make sense, I'd have a hard time picking Roche. I wish that regardless of the decisions Geralt would make earlier in the game, the choice would still be difficult, especially when the sword situation felt like something that wouldn't have big consequences, at least to me. Of course it can and probably should have an impact, but I think that taking away most of the complexity from the choice afterwards is not ideal. But I have to say that I'm really glad that I have now experienced both sides, and I now look at Chapter 1 very differently, and I can finally appreciate the choice a lot more. What I initially looked at as a meaningful but shallow and simple choice has now become a still meaningful, of course, but also deep and more nuanced choice. Alright, that's gonna be it for the video. A short one today, but I'll be back soon with longer videos, and hopefully this one was still interesting regardless. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share your thoughts on the decision in the comments, and why not share your favorite path as well. Please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video if you enjoyed and want more content like this. Thanks again, and see you soon in a new video. Bye bye.